Let's turn to London now, where the morning after, many Britons are still coming to terms with the news of the Queen's death. Naturally, Londoners have converged on Buckingham Palace, the heart of the British monarchy. And in scenes not witnessed since the death of the Queen Mother back in 2001, thousands are paying their respects and mourning a beloved figure. Joining me now live from London is the royal editor at the Daily Mirror, Russell Myers. Russell, great to see you. How are you on this day?
Well, good evening. I think everybody is finding the situation very, very surreal. I think it's something that we had tried to plan for so long. We wondered how we would feel when this momentous day was upon us. And I think the world stopped for a time yesterday when the news was started to filter through certain channels, and then Buckingham Palace released a statement yesterday afternoon about the gravity of the situation. I think there was a collective intake of breath across the country, the Commonwealth, indeed the world. I think you've seen the outpouring of emotion from across the globe, not only world leaders, but people paying their respects in any way they can. I think this tells you the enormity of what has happened and again, the enormity of what we should expect in the coming days.
And so tell us about the crowds and what's been happening with as we know, we remember Diana, obviously, we remember the Queen Mother. What's the mood in London on the streets there?
Well, it's very sombre. I think that, speaking to our team of reporters across the ground, we've had people at Buckingham Palace, at Windsor, up in Scotland. There is a collective sense of grief. And I think that people are really wondering what will happen now. The world seems a very, very different place than it did 24 hours ago. We just saw the Queen just on Tuesday. I mean, she was looking fairly sprightly in her smile, beaming when she met the new Prime Minister. And yet she looked a little frail. There were bruises on her hands and her feet were swollen. To be expected for a woman of her years, 96. But she was carrying on her duty till the very, very end, utterly determined to fulfil those duties. And I think that people recognise that and really have a collective outpouring of emotion is how I would describe it. And I think we will see some incredible scenes over the next few days.
Well, tell us, Russell, what are the sort of key milestones over the next couple of weeks that are the big events that obviously would have been planned for a long time, but we can expect to see happening?
Well, of course. I mean, the fact that the Queen did die in Scotland puts a whole new set of plans into motion. I mean, Operation London Bridge, as we're all familiar with, but Operation Unicorn is the set of plans delivered when she passed away in Scotland. We will see the King and Queen Consort Camilla travelling back to London later this morning. They will have an audience with the Prime Minister. We will expect an address at some point this evening in the UK, televised, a pre-recorded address from the new King. And I think that will not only convey his distress, his grief, but also thank the public for that outpouring of emotion, which has been so relevant over the last few hours and will continue to be for many, many days. Then we will find out the detail of the plans of how long the Queen will stay in Scotland. I understand she is in the ballroom at Balmoral at the moment. She will then be transferred to the Palace of Holyrood House at some stage, and again will be lying in rest for members of staff to pay their respects, and members of the public, of course, before she is brought by plane back to London. And then that sets in a huge chain of events of public commemorations that will last for many, many days.
Well, Russell, I was going to ask you about Harry and Meghan, but mercifully we've run out of time, so we don't have to. Thank goodness for that. I think they get enough publicity without all of this. Russell Myers, thank you so much for joining us here on Credlin this evening.